Ah, boa tarde. It's good to be back. At the time that we're recording this, Bethany and I are on our final day in Lubango. We'll soon be boarding the first of, one or two or three airplanes that will get us back to Calgary. And so we wanted to take a few moments to reflect on what we accomplished during our time here in Lubango. If you've seen our previous videos, then you already have some idea of what we've been doing. But let's just break it down, starting with the mural. So Bethany, let's talk about the mural project and how that has been completed.
Well, we spent, I think, a good 9 or 10 days, not in succession, but about that long painting, and a couple extra days finding supplies. Starting with, I don't know, 10 or so cracks vertically down the wall, down the expanse of 90 feet, and about 10 to 12 feet high is the mural. And then at one point, since the mural was first painted in 2019, there was 2 feet added to the top. So we had to expand the design of the mural to make it all fit what was originally there, and then also what we could add to make it more cohesive, especially with the new paint, because the brand new paint was really bright compared to the faded mural from 2019. So there's a lot of things that we had to repair. Before we came, there was more to repair to the parts of the wall, and more than we thought. So we ended up having more work to do than I thought. But a lot of things were already there, and I could just trace. Some things I had to redraw, some things I had to make new. Michael helped a lot with priming, and then painting a lot of the bigger expanses, and so I could focus on more detail and getting faces and characters drawn and robes painted, and there's lots of different robes and lots of hairstyles and lots of different colors. I enjoyed mixing colors too, because I stuck to 3 different paints, basically red, blue and yellow, and black and white, and then mixed my own colors off of those. So had lots of fun doing that, and so I think that it makes a really nice finished piece again, just building on what Anna Lassan started in 2019. Yeah.
And how do you feel that it looks now with all our work done?
I think it looks spectacular. So yeah, the bright colors, especially the bright yellow and the blue skies that we added a lot of sky. So I really think it's bright and happy and interesting to look at, and just restores the story, because like with the damage, it really, you get pretty understanding of the story from the start of the gospel, like from Genesis onward. But then once you get to the crucifixion scene, it was really covered up. So it was nice to restore that part of it, especially, so it can really tell the story. Yeah.
Okay, well, next we'll talk about my English group. Now, I've done a lot of English studies over the years. This one was just an English language Bible study. I had a ESL book that used the Gospel of Mark as a resource. And then I invited people who had been in any of my previous classes to attend. And they as well were free to invite other people that they knew. So I wound up with 2 people, ultimately 3. 3 people who had never been students of mine on any of my previous trips.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy getting to know them? Were they friends of the people that you already knew? Or?
Yeah. One was the wife of a longtime student of mine who I've known since 2021. and he himself had been coming back for more classes. Another student who had moved away to Matala, which is a few kilometers from here, he came back so that he could be present for the last few classes, and I really appreciated seeing him again. He had been an English student of mine when I taught at Ishtel.
Mm-hmm.
And it all went pretty well. It isn't entirely using the skills that I learned when I took the Kelta program to become an English language teacher,
Mm-hmm.
though I did rely on some of the new textbooks that I had discovered to help drill pronunciation, particularly on sounds that I knew Angolans have difficulty with, like the th noise is one that Angolans find very challenging.
Yeah, lots of people kept saying th rather than th.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I enjoyed helping you with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to have Bethany sitting in on that. I think it's always good for English students to hear more than one voice speaking to them so that they can hear some of the variances in the ways that different people pronounce words.
Cool.
And also part of our trip was SLC, the Spiritual Life Conference. So SLC is run primarily here by SIM Angola, but they have invited many other missionary groups who are in the area to send their missionaries there. It's a time of refreshment and rejuvenation for missionaries on the field who really do need to have their own cares attended to from time to time. So we had people from overland missions, for example, some people from the Navigators, and people from MAF. Bethany and I were there to help lead the worship each morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, of course, got to attend the actual conference itself, which was hosted by two married pastors from Vancouver, Daniel and Jenna Fabiano.
Mm-hmm.
And would you care to comment on the worship, Bethany?
Yes, so we led worship for the adults at the conference. There's about 60 people there. SLC is made up of a lot of missionaries, and most of them speak English quite well. So the conference was mainly in English. We led a lot of worship songs in English. But we prepared a number of songs in Portuguese too, so I muddled through in my basic knowledge of it, and Michael helped with pronunciation. But we were pleasantly surprised that at least one or two songs in Portuguese people knew very well, and were singing them better than we could. So I think it went pretty good. We had some power issues in Angola. You never know if the power will stay on. But the keyboard worked out pretty good. I ended up using a Yamaha from one of the ministries here, lent it to the conference. So, and Michael had his trusty egg. He was doing using a shaker.
Yes. So that was two instruments we had.
Yeah. I did some clapping, and yeah, I just think it went well, and that it was enjoyable to do outdoor worship under a tent in a faraway country. Yeah.
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 And the venue itself, the Chinkombe Mission Farm, is a pretty nice place to go to just get away from the city for a while, to in the evenings be under a dark sky with no light pollution so that you can make out every star up above. And Bethany and I enjoyed many nice quiet evenings at the firesides.
Yeah, we also got to go on a lovely safari.
Mm-hmm.
Most every day, some of the missionaries got to go and try and find the buffalo. Apparently, that's a thing at Chinkombe, is the Chinkombe buffalo. But they're not like North American buffalo. They're a little like a bull or a steer in their horns and their physique. They don't really have the hair that a North American buffalo would have, but Michael and I didn't find any. We enjoyed the safari, but we did find guinea fowl, and what else?
And a diker.
which is like a deer, but no more like an antelope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some natural beauty in Chinkambe that we didn't experience so far in Lubango that was lovely to go see. Apparently, it's on the edge of the Kalahari Desert, so even the ground color is different. In Lubango, the ground is a little bit red, and at Chinkambe, it was a little more sandy. Yeah.
Yeah. And that seems like a good segue for talking about some of the other sites that we saw while we were here. So, Bethany, let's talk about some of the other things that we did. Some of the more touristy places we got to go and see. There are a few in the Lubango area. The most famous are probably the statue Cristo Rei, the mountain view at Tundavala Gap, and then the Serra de Leba, which is out past the town of Umpata. Now, I had seen all of these things before, so I'd like Bethany to say something about them.
Wow. So in the town of Lubango, you can look up a hill, just like you're in Rio de Janeiro, I think, and see the Jesus statue. I think it's comparable in size, but this one has a base to it that looks like a crown. So everywhere you look, you can see it from the city. So we got to go up to it, and it's about 1,000 feet up from the city limits, and this lovely view. And lo and behold, a few feet away is something sort of like you'd see in Hollywood, big letters on a hill. One of them says the name of the town, Lubango, and the other one says Angola, except without an A, which we found out later was the name of a beer.
Yeah, it's an advertisement. It's not quite as pure as the other sign.
So it was neat to be able to go up close and see those letters on the hill, and enjoyed that. It was really interesting to see that even though in Lubango we feel really like we're up in the mountain ranges because it's at 6,000 feet, if you go up to Cristo Rei, it's 7,000 feet. So feel like you're on top of a mountain. It's actually quite a plateau. And then if you go past further inland from the Cristo Rei, you start to get into a place of flat land that you see on a plateau, and it's called Impata. So one day we spent the day in Impata, and on the other side of the plateau is this amazing place called the Leba. It's basically a switchback road driving down the other side of the plateau toward the ocean in the Namib. So gorgeous view. Like in Canada, you'd have to go do a huge climb up a mountain to get to that view, but here you just drive to it. So that was just some lovely natural beauty we saw. Tundavala Gap, also the opposite side of Lubango. Also similar thing where you drive to it and there's just this great view. Really high heights that you feel kind of scary on the edge of. So yeah, I enjoyed those touristy sides of things here. There's not very much of a tourist industry. It's not like people sell t-shirts that say Lubango much. There's not little figurines. There's some maybe of the Cristo Rei, but not much art or anything to commemorate the times there, or postcards, but such wonderful places to see. I keep asking the names of things. Some things have names, but I look at some mountain peaks and they say that's just there. We don't know what the name is. There's a waterfall by the Leba that doesn't have a name. Yep, just like streets here, some don't have names. Houses don't have numbers.
Yeah.
It feels a little disconcerting that way, but
yeah. So we learned an Angolan joke while we were here after discussing with one of my Angolan students how challenging it is to give people directions to a house when you can't just give them a street name or a number on the door. And she told us a popular joke when giving directions is to say to someone, "Where's my house? Oh, my house is behind the tree and next to the wall."
What tree?
What wall?
Well, if you know the neighborhood, if you can say the neighborhood, then you can find it usually. But yeah, it's different that way here. So yeah, that's a little bit talk about some of the touristy things we saw.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just sum up now with some thoughts about the future. So this for Bethany was a vision trip for us as a couple collectively as well. I already know a lot of the things that I can do here, but I'm not really interested in continuing to come to Lubango unless Bethany is here with me. So we haven't really discussed what our future in Lubango is going to be. I think that's a conversation the two of us will have when we're back in Calgary. But for the moment, at least, I'd like us to just kind of reflect a little about what went well living in Lubango for a month.
What went well? Prices of food. Sticking to a budget here is pretty easy. Yeah.
Ridiculously easy. You can get a nice loaf of fresh bread for under $1.
Yeah, you can get lots of things. We got chicken breast, huge chicken breasts for like $2.
Yeah.
In Canada, it'd be $20 for the same amount. So some of that was a big plus. Really easy to live cheaply. We even went to the clothing store, cheap clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling like I needed a few more socks, but also I just like to buy socks when I'm in Angola because socks are so cheap here.
And fun designs.
And they have some fun designs on them, yes.
So what else were we thinking?
Well, you've spoken before about all the ambient art, the way there's murals in a lot of the city, and then also things painted on a lot of the shops.
Yeah, one of the things I was kind of surprised about is how developed Lubango is infrastructure-wise. There's clean streets, tarmac, there's clean sidewalks, there's trees down lining the sidewalks. In a lot of places there's wonderful fences and iron decorations. You go down side streets and you start to get into disintegrating tarmac and stuff, but a lot of it, it's really, really nice. And even this time, Michael commented that, "Oh wow, Bethany, the power didn't go out this time."
True.
So
on every other visit, the power has gone out. Even if it's just for one day, there's been at least one day where the power would go out in a month, and that hasn't happened at all.
yeah, I think the most hardship we had, convenience-wise, is a cold shower or two.
Yeah,
So-
we didn't always get the hot water we were supposed to have. I'm not sure what was up with that.
Yeah. So that, yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised about that. But yeah, the air is clear. Generally, you get the smell of petrol in the air a bit, but
And sometimes wood smoke from things being burned.
yeah, at night you can hear the sounds of wild dogs yowling. And because we're in town, busy town, you start to hear the nightlife. So
Yeah, there's a bar not too far from here, and it can sometimes get pretty loud. Although it wasn't as bad on this trip either. They have done a lot to curb the noise because it seemed before like every other night they were having a loud, raucous party with bass that you swear would shake the house.
I think it's interesting to see and beautiful to see all the Angolan vegetation. we're here at a time of year that's like nearing the end of the dry season, so a lot of the grasses are brown, and it's winter here in July. So you'll have on the trees, it's strange to see fall leaves. Some of them lose all their leaves, some of them don't. There's beautiful plants that are flowering, fuchsia and orange. We've seen poinsettias of all things, which
Yeah.
apparently bloom in the summer or are their winter here now. They're blooming now, and they don't bloom at Christmas time. So, so that's been a pleasant surprise. And different trees than we have in North America and in the northern hemisphere. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of positives being here, and life has been pretty easy, especially when we were at SLC. During the conference, we didn't have to prepare any of our own meals.
Mm-hmm. We had some good meals at SLC. Well, we cook okay, I guess, but not compared to them.
We did okay. We did okay. I always felt it was a bit of a chore trying to find meat at the supermarket that was going to be good enough.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, some of the meat we had at the Chincombe Ranch camp was like wild game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what some of it was. It tasted good generally. We had some really good beef, it seemed like, but it might have been buffalo. Did we eat buffalo? Or Diker?
I don't know. We did eat Diker. I know I ate Diker.
Which just seems, for me, it's like, oh, that beautiful antelope creature. Why would they kill it? So, yeah. Some different meats here a little bit, but you get used to them. It's not too gamey. So, yeah. What other things are strange here for me? For me, it was strange. I thought I'd like have to learn a lot of Portuguese and I'd be totally immersed in it. But there's been so many missionaries and with the conference that I've gotten a lot of English speakers. So I haven't felt too much culture shock with the language barrier. Like, and then when there was church, there was people speaking Nyaneka, but usually there was translators, sometimes into Portuguese and sometimes into both Portuguese and English. So once in a while, Michael would have to translate Portuguese for me, but not very often. I thought it'd be a lot more of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, which was a bit of a relief for me. I'm not 100% fluent in Portuguese, so I still have trouble with some things. And so far as our future goes, I mean, we have some good ideas if we come back as to what kind of work we'll be doing. So we're excited to think about these things once we're home.
Yep. We're good Canadians. We like to reflect. It takes a little while to decide things, so it's good. So you'll be hearing more about that if you follow our prayer letter. You can sign up for our email newsletter. Just contact us. The official report afterward. This is more informal video, but
Yeah.
And then watch and see what the Lord has in store for us here in our future mission together and ministry together. So, yeah. I didn't know how well Michael would paint, and he did pretty good. He didn't know how well I'd assist in ESL, and I think I did pretty good.
You did.
But, yeah.
Well, thank you for following the vlog this far. I hope that one day we'll get yet another version of the vlog started. We'll see what happens. Ciao for now.
Oh.
Mwah.